Hi there, it's Karen Williams here, and I'm back today in our Author's Journey Facebook group to talk about the second thing in a four-part series I'm sharing with you around my new book, Becoming an Authority. So if you haven't yet got your copy of Becoming an Authority, it is available on all of the 40, most of the 40 audio platforms now. If you go to www.becominganauthority.co.uk, you can go and get your copy. Now, this book was written as an audiobook, so it is a full-size book. It has got chapters. It is pretty much the same as a normal book. It's just gone audio first, and I'll tell you a little bit about why I decided to do that later on, although I know that's a Facebook Live all by itself, which I'm planning to do towards the end of next week. And if you would like some help with your book and you'd like to apply for an authority call with me, I have a 45 minutes with me to talk about your book ideas, to sanity check your ideas, to stop procrastinating, get out of your own way so you actually get your book written. Do get in touch. You can sign up via the contact page on my website, or email karen@librotas.com, or even comment below and I will get in touch with you. So this is the second part of a four-part series where I'm talking about the difference between author and authority, and why writing your book doesn't automatically make you an expert, because that is what I believe, and that's really what I'm sharing throughout the whole book. And today, yesterday I talked about the difference between author and authority. I gave some of the definitions behind it. And then today I'm going to be talking about the I. On Tuesday I'll be talking about the T, and on Wednesday I'm going to be talking about the why. So the I, that's what I'm talking about today. And that is impact, influence, and investment. Three very distinct but slightly overlapping topics as well. So for those of you who are live, if you have any questions about anything I'm saying today, please do pop them in the comment box. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have any questions later, I'd be more than happy to answer them on this page as well. So the first I is all about impact. And as I mentioned on the Facebook Live yesterday, I don't actually talk about the writing side of things, actually starting to formulate your ideas, actually writing chapters, writing words, until the fourth principle in the book. So you're halfway through the book before I even talk about writing. There's so many things you need to think about first. So the things like, what's changed in the publishing industry, technology, planning your book, making sure you're really clear on who it's for and what they're going to get from it. All of those things are so important. So impact for me is really all about the impact you want to make with your book. So yesterday I touched on the vision. What is your vision for your book? What is your vision for your book and your business, for your readers? But actually, there's more to it than that. What is the impact that you want to make in the world with your book? What is the impact? What is the bigger difference you want to make? And this might be for you personally. It might be for your book and how it impacts other people. It might be the impact your business can make on the world. I think one of the best bits about writing Becoming an Authority was that I was able to delve deep into some of the results that clients have got from working with us over the last 5 years. So there's numerous examples, and I think it's chapter 4 that I actually wrote a list, and I know the list is not exhaustive, and there's many more things that I probably could, if I looked at it now, I could include. But I looked at some of the successes that clients have had since publishing their book, and actually sometimes leading up to the publication as well. So these were things like becoming a TEDx speaker. So I did my first TEDx 2 years ago. I met Lindsay McLean when I did my TEDx, and she went on to do hers. That was around about this time last year, actually, she did her TEDx. Louise Evans, when she wrote 5 Chairs, 5 Choices, that automatically put her on the platform to doing a TEDx as well. So a book isn't necessarily the only thing that will get you in front of an audience like TED. But actually it's one of those things that really can establish you as an authority when you're talking about that topic. So TEDx is one. Kath Lloyd, she was on Women's Hour earlier this year. Emma Heptonstall, I talked about yesterday, she's had her book plastered all over the world, from New York Post to The Sun to The Express. What else? Lindsay, she was Flybee's editor's pick. So her book was picked up by them and reviewed in their On Flight magazine, which is fantastic, isn't it? A great accolade. What else have people done? Kate Barrett, she got sponsorship for her book. So slightly different, but she's made a huge impact in her industry. And I interviewed her about her book a few months after she published. And just that day, she had done a webinar for 500 people. And that's 500 people who didn't know about her before that. And that was all part of the sponsorship arrangement she had. And that sponsorship also funded the publication of her book as well. So some amazing successes people are having. Corporate contracts off the back of the book, products and programs, being able to sell your one-to-one services. That is an impact on a business level, isn't it? Very much like, I'm writing a book, this is my goal for my book, this is the impact I can make to enable me to make a bigger difference. And now you might be thinking that your impact may be on a more internal level. You know that you can impact more people by getting your message out there in a book. And absolutely you can. But actually, if you don't think on a bigger scale in terms of your business, your book is going to languish on Amazon and do nothing. You have to go out, you have to step up when you're writing a book. You have to go out there, and actually knowing the impact you want to make when you start is so, in my view, so important. Because how can you measure your success unless you have that impact in mind? And you might have impact on a giving back level. And I know so many people have done this as well. So I'm working with a guy called Paul Hickman, who he's written his book, A Funeral Service, and I'm actually meeting up with him next week to discuss the next steps with his book. He has got copies in his hand now, which is fantastic, but it's a very different type of book. Now, the impact he wants to make with his book is he wants to have something that funeral directors can hand out to people when their loved ones have passed away. When they're in that really horrible, difficult situation, I know, I've been there myself, when you just don't know what to do next. You're grabbing onto every piece of hope, everything that you really want to, it's like, how do you move forward in that situation? Where do you start, especially if you've never been through it before? And his book gives people that hope. It gives people the next steps to actually move on and be able to move on through the grief, but also the practicalities of how to have a funeral service when you don't know and you're in that situation. And it's also something that is available when people are in that situation. They might go on Amazon and go, where do I go? What do I do for help? So that's the impact he wants to make. He wants to be able to impact, so many people through the funeral directors, through celebrants, and through people who can support those going through that difficult situation. He's also impacting by giving back through the book, as am I with becoming an authority. If you didn't know, 20% of profits from becoming an authority are going to charity. I work very closely with Work for Good, and the charity I support is my local hospice, the Rowans Hospice. So 20% of all profits are going to that charity because they're a charity that support people with end-of-life care. My dad, unfortunately, never made it, but that was going to be the next step, and he had cancer 6 years ago as well. So it's being able to give back. For me, that's just so important, and that, again, is another impact. And how can you make that impact if you don't actually get your message out to the people who need to hear it? So my question to you now is, what impact do you want to make with your book? Because I think so often we can dream about a book for so long, but actually we can do so much good, can't we, through the impact we can make and the difference we can make by getting it out to those who need to read it. So what else was I going to talk about? Impact. I've got a couple of notes on a post-it note that I'm looking at right now. Okay, another impact you have to make is being really clear on what makes your book different. So I've got another example for you, and the examples that come into my head were not the ones I planned, which unusually for me. I was talking to a guy this morning, new client of mine, and he's already written 75,000 words of his book. It's some really great stuff in it, but it doesn't make the impact in terms of the business side of things at the moment, which is why he's engaged me to get his help with it. He knows it can make a bigger difference. He knows that he wants this to, he wants speaking engagements off the back of the book. He wants to be doing podcast interviews. He wants to be working with more people on a deeper level. And he knows the book is a great vehicle to do that. But actually there are some tweaks you can make in the book to make sure it actually gets you the results you desire. And that's one of the ways I work with clients, is to help them to make sure the book is structured and is designed in such a way that enables you to do more of what you love off the back of it. It's about having a hook as well. So in terms of your book, if you're writing a book, it's important that it's not the same as everything else that's out there. And that's why I'll often advise clients to do a bit of competitive research. What else has been published in your genre around your topic? And what makes your book different? What makes you different? Is it your experience? Is it your wisdom? Is it your expertise? Is it your journey? Is it your story? There's all of these things make us different from other people. So I am going to talk about this lady's book, Claire Brumby. She came to work with us a couple of years ago now, and she published her book around about September last year. And the impact that she wanted to make is that she set up a food business. She struggled while she was setting it up, but she learned a huge amount on the journey. And I'm going to talk about her probably a little bit more when I talk about You and Your Story on Wednesday as well. And she wanted to make an impact. You know, she'd already been on Dragon's Den. She'd already drank champagne with royalty. She'd already nabbed a selfie with Chris Evans and all sorts of amazing things she achieved when she went through running a business. But she went through the highs and she also went through those devastating lows as well. And that's what she's charted in the book. What she wanted, the impact that Claire wanted to make, is to make sure that, you know, people weren't going to suffer like she did. They weren't going to go through the same heartache, that they were aware of all the pitfalls. And actually, in saying that, I can certainly relate to that in terms of becoming an authority as well. You know, if we're writing a book that really draws on our own experience, our own pain and our own knowledge and some of the things that we've been through, you know, this is a great way of charting it and actually helping other people who might be going through something similar to that. So I have another example here. Again, I wasn't planning on talking about it today, but it's on my little pile next to me, and that's this one. This book is Freedom to Be Me by a lady called Asmina Jawa. And she also wanted people to be aware of some of the things that you can go through when you feel like, you know, you're not putting yourself on the top of your to-do list, that you're maybe feeling a bit downtrodden, a bit sort of neglected, or you're neglecting yourself. And what she wanted to do through this book is show people another way, through her own experiences and through her own experiences of running workshops, events, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway workshops, and a lot of the learning she's gained on her journey. And, you know, talking about impact, you know, the look and the feel of a book is also important when it comes to impact. Certainly this is, you know, I have to say this, and apologies to all my other clients, this is my favourite, I think, cover ever that we've done. And when it comes to impact, it's also about making an impact with the internal side, you know, the internal part of a book as well. Every book that we do at Librotas, under Librotas Books, is bespoke. So Claire's is another one. You know, her diamonds are in there. So some really sort of important elements. And I think especially if you're writing a book and you're publishing it as an independent author, you need to think about these things as well. You really have to raise the bar when it comes to writing a book. You know, there really is, you know, when you're investing, which I'll talk about in a minute in more detail, in your book, you want your book to be the thing that puts you on the map. You want it to be the thing that puts you on the you know, you and your business in the forefront of people's mind. You don't necessarily want it to be the thing that people just forget about, that just sits on Amazon and does absolutely nothing for you and your business. Or you find that you need to write another book to enable you to get the message, you know, to tweak it so it enables you to do what you want to do with it. So that's pretty much all about impact. You know, what impact do you want to make with your book, and how are you going to make that impact? And think about your goal for your book, for you, for your readers, and also your business. So the second thing on my list is influence, very much linked to impact, because a book is a great way of establishing you as a person of influence, as an influencer. So whether you like or you don't like that title, this is your opportunity to influence and make a difference, especially in an area that really annoys you. So another great book I'm going to recommend here, or recommend a client, is Sarah Alaria North, who literally her book went live on Amazon a couple of days ago. I looked yesterday and she's in the hot new releases area under her categories. So she was number one, I think, this morning. She's not reached the Amazon bestseller yet, but literally it's early days. Her book launches next on the 11th. So what's that, Monday week, I think it is. And she wanted to be disruptive with her book, and actually being disruptive and being that little bit bolshy and a little bit assertive with the book, I think is nice. I don't think you need to be too assertive and too bolshy, but if you want to shake things up in your industry, a book is a really great way of doing it. And Sarah really shows this in her book. Now, Sarah's industry, she is a coach, and she also teaches coach training, but she teaches transformational coach training. And certainly my own journey of starting off 13 years ago, of being a coach and knowing the limitations of the coach training I went through, you know, it was amazing training, but actually I don't think it really equipped me for everything that I've been through since then, and with some of the clients that I've worked with. So what she wanted to do is actually show people, yeah, you've got the foundation of, you know, how to use the GROW model, how to coach people, but actually as a coach, you need to go through deeper stuff yourself. So the work that she does with people is all about going into the inner child, the deeper stuff that actually, if we work on ourselves, we're going to be so much better resourced to actually work with clients. And that's really the premise of her book. But she's firmly put on the back cover with my encouragement, and also in the front of the book, that, you know, what really annoys her about the coach training that's out there already. It's an unregulated industry. There are so many people calling themselves a coach, and she wanted to really sort of put a stake in the sand of what she thought needed to be different. And that's one of the things that she's done in her book. And I know that it's going to achieve success for her, you know, becoming an influencer. And I can give you dozens more examples where that came from, but I was only planning on doing a 20-minute live today. With my book, Becoming an Authority, I wanted to do something a little bit different as well. So as you may have noticed, I've gone audiobook first, and there are various reasons for doing that. One of the reasons is because people are asking me how to do it, and I needed to experience it before I can actually share my advice and knowledge. And I also wanted to do something different. What happens if? What's the worst that can happen? You know, I may release it as an ebook and a print book next year, but actually I'm getting some amazing feedback from the audio. It was very much written with audio in mind, in terms of, you know, they're short, sharp chapters. You know, you need an 18-minute walk around the block and you've listened to the longest chapter. You know, a 10-minute walk around the block and you've listened to most of the others. So it was written and designed to be an audio book. It's also written and designed to be a print book. It's a normal size book. So again, I wanted to do something a little bit different. Let's shake up the industry a bit. We don't have to go down that traditional route of having a paperback in our hand or having an ebook on Kindle. We can do things a bit differently. We just learn on the journey what works and what doesn't. And one of my reasons for doing the audiobook first is just to be able to share my experiences so I can help you as well. So the third thing on my list today is investment. Investment, that's quite a meaty topic, isn't it? It's like, where do you start, where do you finish? And I was thinking about this morning, and I just put a couple of notes on my post-it note, and I thought, okay, so what matters when it comes to investment? Certainly what matters, you know, there's various things. You might think money, I need to invest money into my book, and I don't have any money, so that can be quite a contracting feeling. But actually it is more than that. So I was thinking about this morning, and I thought, okay, investment, the first thing you need to do is thinking about, when am I going to invest the time to write it? So what is my investment in terms of time? So I thought I'd do a conservative estimate that a typical book that's maybe 50,000 words could take, give or take, 200 hours to write. And that's not taking into account the marketing time, the, you know, maybe sort of a bit of social media, networking, speaking about it. You know, that doesn't take into account the thinking about it when you're trying to go to sleep or at 3 o'clock in the morning. But if you actually allocated time to write your book and time to edit it, I would say 200 hours is pretty much there, give or take. So 200 hours is roughly 25 8-hour days, 50, 4-hour half days. Okay, so you can see where I'm going with this. So that's 200 hours that you can't bill for. As a business owner, if you're looking to write a book alongside your business, that's 200 hours where you're non-billable time. And if you think, okay, so I'm only actually going to work with people for 100 of those 200 hours, and say you charged £100 an hour, and that's 10 grand that you're not going to be able to bill during that time. So even if you do everything yourself by following some of the strategies in my books, in other people's books, or you do some low-cost online programs, you've still got that investment in time to actually write it. So that's why whenever I work with clients, one of my first things is, is this the right time? Is this the right time for it to become a priority? And if you're not ready to invest at any level, it's probably not the right time to have a conversation with someone like myself. And I don't want to put a downer on it, but actually that's the reality, is that if you want to write a book, you do need to invest the time in it without anything else. But equally, when it comes to investment, there are benefits, of course, of working with someone like myself as a book mentor. One of the things I do is help you to get really clear on the business element of it. So my goal, whenever I work with clients on a one-to-one or even a group basis, is to help you to make back the investment that you've invested in it. So I mentioned some of the impact that people have already, some of the results that people have already got from their book. So Steve Judge, I'll be talking about him on Wednesday. He's the author of Don't Lean on Your Excuses. He is a speaking coach, a keynote speaker, get my words out now. And he has already got a 5-figure sum from launching the book and through raising his profile and his credibility through the book. So so he invested in mentoring, he invested in the publishing, but actually he's already getting some amazing results, and he's only been in print a couple of months. I was at his book launch party 2 weeks ago. No, 2 weeks ago, last weekend, very recently I was at his book launch party. So it's just thinking about what is the, how much is it worth investing in terms of time and money? What is the outcome I'm going to give? Working with a client a couple of years ago, she signed up to do the mentoring program, the publishing program with us. She also went on a writing retreat and also went on a second writing retreat when she was in the final edits as well. And when we had that conversation, she just looked at the hard facts. How many clients do I need to bring in to actually recoup my investment? Is that realistic? Yes or no? Decision made. And actually, I know she's achieving some amazing successes. So it's just really bearing in mind when it comes to investment, what is the impact of not investing in the book in terms of every part of the body, the soul, and what is the impact of investing in it? Does it make sense? If you get it done quicker, easier, it makes a bigger impact. It enables you to be an influencer, because sometimes you just don't see what's at the end of your nose, which is why I work with a business mentor as well. So getting support, getting that accountability, getting the kick up the arse every so often, that's certainly what I do with my clients, and keeping them on track to achieve it in a timely manner, which I'll talk about on Tuesday. And when it comes to investing, even if you decide to write it yourself, you decide not to get mentoring support, you might want to get a bit of developmental editing. You might want to get a copy editor, a proofreader. If you're going down the indie route, you might need to get someone to, you will need to get someone to do it for you. So you can learn how to typeset. But actually, wouldn't it be better for you to raise your prices, become more confident in what you do, and actually, to actually do the stuff that you do well, that you're an expert in, that you're writing about in your book, and actually get someone else to do the grunt work for you. They can do it so much quicker and so much easier. And believe me, I've learned the hard way with that. With finding the right team has been something I've, in the early stages of my books, I really struggled. I've published, Becoming an Authority is my 6th book. I've been through some real highs and lows, and I do what I do now, and I have the team around me now that enable clients for it to be as easy as possible. Sure, there's always a few sort of like hiccups every now and then, but actually, we want to make it as smooth as possible for you to actually get your book out there in the best possible way and making the biggest impact that you can. And then lastly, when it comes to investment, you've got the thought about marketing, PR. And yes, of course, you can write your own press release, you can send it to your local paper, but it could make more sense, I think it does make more sense, to actually contact the people who have got that little black book already, that know the right people to contact. They know how to contact them. They know how to get into, Women's Hour, perfect example. Our friends at Book Collective, they were responsible for helping Kath to get that gig. So it's thinking about the results that you want from your book. And if you've got some big goals to become a TEDx speaker, to, earn thousands of pounds from speaking, to, get that, nail that corporate gig, it's worth investing in your book. So it all comes down to the goal. Going back to the question I asked yesterday, what do you want your book to do for you, your readers, your clients, and also your business? So some real sort of meaty things to think about today. So, right, have I got anything else on my list? I don't think so. So today I've been talking about impact, influence, investment, the 3 I's, the difference between author and authority. And on Tuesday, I'm going to be back to talk about the T, which is time, timely, and timescales. So have a great weekend in the meantime, and you've got a weekend, so get your copy of Becoming an Authority. It's 3.5 hours of your time, and I know you're going to want to take loads of notes. And if you're thinking, I don't know about audiobook, there is a page of resources that you can download as well. So you'll be signposted to the resources page, so you can access some of the information that accompanies the book. So you can do a bit more research, do a bit of listening to some client interviews as well if you wish to do so. So you can get that at becominganauthority.co.uk. And if you'd like to chat about your book, do get in touch. There is a 45-minute complimentary consultation you can have with me to chat about your ideas, and you will go away really raring to go to take the next steps. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Tuesday. Bye for now.